which includes parts of Philadelphia and Montgomery counties. And before his election to the United States Congress in 1994, he served 6 years as representative in the Pennsylvania State House, followed by 6 years as a state senator. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I got a chance to catch much of the last presentation, which was extraordinary. And I'm sorry that I missed Doug Smith's presentation this morning because much of what I've learned about this subject started under his tutelage and the work that's being done here at the Center for Brain Injury and Repair. So it's good to see you again. And for all of the rest of you, you have a break because I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm a politician. And on most days, I hope to be a policymaker. I am the lead Democrat for science-related appropriations. And so I get a chance to decide how many billions we're going to invest in space exploration and in basic scientific research at the National Science Foundation and so on, but also get a chance to set priorities. So I've decided about 24 or so months or so ago that a superior among equals in terms of scientific investigation by our government is going to be neuroscience. That is that I believe that brain research, and it's a three-prong initiative that is referred to as the Fattah Neuroscience Initiative. It's really three-pronged. It's focused, one of the prongs is cognition, teaching and learning, and the other is diseases and disorders and how we can make disruptive progress. But the reason that you're here today and the reason I'm here today is TBI, traumatic brain injury, is one of the three prongs of this initiative. And we have about 1.8 million cases each year of traumatic brain injuries in our country. The bulk of them, about 35%, in the 0 to 4, mainly young boys for some reason, in the majority. But these young children have injuries that are quite significant. And then at the other end of the spectrum are 65, really 75 and older, from falls. These challenges, now there is another spike in the kind of 15 to 19 age group, but these injuries are something that we have to really focus in on. And from a policy perspective, there's a lots of reasons that we could outline, but you can imagine that for the families and for the individuals involved, this is a very challenging circumstance. And I am also on the Veterans Affairs Appropriations Subcommittee, and one of the issues there is that 40% of our injured soldiers have TBI. And so, you know, at the National Intrepid Center, which I visited, and many of the other places around the country that treat veterans, this is a very important issue that we have to address. So let me say a couple things about what I'm up to. So what I've done is, by law, I brought together agencies that range from the National Institute of Health to the National Science Foundation. In fact, those are the two co-chairs of what we call the Interagency Working Group. This is a high-priority, intensive research effort, the first of its kind in our federal government, actually literally collaboration among the agencies, and we have dozens of them, from Veterans Affairs to the Food and Drug Administration, all who come together. And their responsibility was to lay out some non-incremental, disruptive investments that we can make that would aid the work of scientists like the ones you're hearing from today who are doing this work. And the first of them, the president walked out into the East Room. I was there along with about 400 of the world's best neuroscientists, and we also had a significant representation from our part of the country. Amy Gutman was there, and others. The president laid out that we're going to map the brain, and we're going to invest the dollars that we need to in order to do that, because with something around 100 billion neurons and 1.5 trillion different connections. It might be useful to everyone, whether you're looking at TBIs or whether you're looking at Alzheimer's or autism or any of the other hundreds of diseases and disorders, that it might be very useful for us to do this. And it's going to require some money. We're going to have to make that investment, and we are in the process of doing that. But I don't want you to think that we really are not in a position to, notwithstanding the headlines. We're spending $8 billion on the James Webb Telescope. Now, I support the James Webb Telescope. Don't miss that. This is the kind of next iteration of the Hubble. But if we can invest $8 billion in a telescope to look into the heavens, we can make the investments necessary to have a much better understanding of how the brain is organized. And it's critical, we believe, and the working group believes, much more importantly, to advance neuroscience in our country. But this is the first of a number of important recommendations that will be finalized in the next and publicized in the next few months, but which will include a range of imaging and diagnostic related investments that we need to make. This area of interest, someone asked me a few minutes ago, why am I involved in this? I'm involved in this. First of all, it's my day job to make these decisions. And I think that there's no more important area for us to invest in. And I think that if we're going to increase the public's appetite for investment in science, we need to make science relevant to the lives that people are living. And I think that here's an area where we know far too little. I asked Doug Smith probably 2 years ago or so, what percent of what we need to know about the workings of the brain do we know now? And I've asked this question of Pulitzer Prize winners and neuroscientists all over the country, and usually it comes back saying we know about 1% of what we need to know. So if you think about that, you think about why, we have yet to find any real relief for many of the ailments. In fact, much of what we thought we knew a decade or so ago has now been pushed to the side with a new level of thinking on these challenges. So the initiative is firstly the working group and this high priority research effort. We've just now and it's now the law of the land, but it hasn't been officially rolled out yet, so I'll give you a preview of it. But at some point, the White House there'll be an event, and the president will announce that we are now going to bring the pharmaceutical industry together in the same type of collaboration. This was signed into law by the president maybe 6 months or so ago to energize the industry to kind of rejoin the battle around brain illnesses and challenges. And I've spent a lot of time working on this. Met with Ken Frazier at Merck. He grew up at 18th and Diamond right here in Philadelphia, but he's the CEO of Merck. And a lot of the other pharmaceutical industry around what we can do to get the industry fully engaged. So this is the next leg of it, but there's more to be done. And part of it is in this area of traumatic brain injury. I'm convinced this is an area where we can make smart investments that can aid the work. Now, we have invested in these brain repair centers, like the one here at Penn. There are 5 across the country, funded through the NIH. But I think that there is additional work that we can do in this area. And so I am interested in the level of work that you're discussing here today, and that's why I'm here, to help us think through where the federal government can make the investments we need to make, so that when I was here at Penn, I got a chance to meet one young person who had been a victim of a traumatic brain injury, but was, because of the great work of the team here at Penn, was up and about and making real contributions. And this is what we want. We don't want to have a situation where a fall off a bike or an unfortunate occurrence end up having young people spending the rest of their lives in a circumstance in which they can't even grasp what the potential is for making a real contribution. So we're involved in a lot of different things, but last week I was here a few blocks away, and it was publicized in the local newspaper. The Philadelphia Inquirer did a story on this, but we brought the head of science investment for the European Union right here to this University Science Center to make a big announcement around a collaborative effort between the European Union, which is now going to put, over the next 7 years, an investment of $90 billion. Well, if we were in the EU, we would say 79 billion euros. But in our currency, it's about $90 billion in a 7-year effort in which a large part of that focus is going to be on neuroscience. And they want to partner with institutions and researchers here, with researchers in the EU. And in 2 weeks, I'll be traveling to Israel to kick off and keynote an international conference on brain technology. So I say that to say that this collaboration, I believe, goes further than just getting our government together or the pharmaceutical industry together, that we need to join forces with other interested groups. Now, neuroscience, we lead the world as a nation. Bless you. We lead the world as a nation in neuroscience, but we are, the EU is second. The 28 countries of the EU combined are in second place. But Israel is now doubling its output in this area in terms of neuroscience-related research. So there is room to build a greater collaboration, and that's what I'm interested in, and how we can get at these challenges that heretofore have we've not had the level of enthusiasm around real breakthroughs that I think that we need. So, and that's not to say that in the academic setting and in the research setting that people are not enthusiastic. I've visited labs all across the country and met with people who are deeply engaged in their work. But as a government, let me give you an illustration. We spent $205 billion last year on care for Alzheimer's patients. And if you look at all of our investment in the NIH and brain research across the entire spectrum, it's $5 billion. This year it'll be $5.614 billion if I have my way. And I will have my way at the end of the day on this. But it still will be a paltry sum if compared to the cost in terms of the 50 million or so Americans who across, whether it's the 2 million on the TBI or other numbers related to other challenges related to brain illnesses and diseases. And forget the dollars. What this means to families can't be measured in dollars. So we need to do more, and I'm committed to have us do more. And I wanted to get here. We are going to start voting somewhere around 1 o'clock. And I'm not going to break any laws, but I'm going to Washington. But I did want to, I had made a commitment to speak at the lunch because usually my Saturdays are mine. And I could decide that I would speak at the lunch. But the speaker has decided that this Saturday does not belong to me, that I have to donate it to the work of the Congress because we didn't get our work done during the work week. So that's the, if you don't get it done right the first time, you will find time to do it over. So we're going to go back into session, and I have to be there. But I wanted to be here with you. That's what I'm up to. And I hope that for each of you, you will find some interest in this, and you will pay attention as we go forward in this towards this brave new enterprise. And we've had 2 big successes. This is probably my 100th speech or meeting or engagement on this. I'm all in on this, and we are going to, by the time I'm finished, which I'm going to be in Washington for at least the next 10 years, we're going to have made a remarkable contribution in terms of what our nation's commitment is relative to brain research. And we're going to make a real difference, and we're going to do it together. So thank you very much.
Can you entertain a few questions?
I'm going to take 3 questions.
Okay. All right. Well, get to the mics, guys. I have one, so Doug, maybe you want to beat me to it.
So I know there's initiatives, especially through the executive branch, and there's total buy-in, but how do we practice at the NIH and DoD level to kind of push more emphasis on neuroscience and even TBI research?
Well, I've met with Dr. Francis Collins. And in fact, I had a couple of my buddies with me. I had, believe it or not, Majority Leader Eric Cantor. My initiative is totally a bipartisan initiative. That's number one. So we have Republican support, Democratic support, and we have a buy-in, I believe, at the NIH level. There are some baby steps that need to be taken. So the first thing is we need the interagency working group, which NIH is the co-chair, along with, that is Tom Enzel and others, with the National Science Foundation, to issue their final report with all of the recommendations, right? And then we need to budget them out. But you see now in the president's budget for FY14 a number of the beginning investments. So in the brain mapping, $100 million, which is just the. Let me tell you this: the EU is doing a computational modeling of the brain. They're investing $1.6 billion. So we're not going to map the brain at $100 million, but it is the beginning investment in that effort. But there is much more work to be done. There is some discussion about how we create the right framework. As you know, there are some people who are not as thrilled about the NIH process for funding and how they get to their funding decisions. So we're trying to work through all of that, but I think that you're going to see real results on this once the final report is laid out in the next 60 days or so.
Excellent.
All right.
Hi, can I ask a related question? I'm a colleague of Doug's here, and I was very impressed to receive an email from your office recognizing the balkanization of neuroscience at NIH, the vast numbers of institutes that collectively support it.
Yes.
As compared to our kind of biggest competitor in biomedicine, which is cancer, they're organized together and we're balkanized. So that was a great observation. What can we do to get past that fragmentation of neuroscience research?
Well, that's what I was referring to in a much more nuanced way in my answer to the last question. So, obviously I'm up to something. And my thinking is that we need to try to organize the federal investment in brain research differently than we presently have it. So let me jump away from NIH all the way up to DOD. DOD, Department of Defense, $600 billion a year. When we asked them 18 months ago, we asked